I am Sam Queso, and I'm building my bankroll to $100,000 so I can quit my job as a roofer and play poker full time. All right, it's day 2, the Vegas trip. Currently, the bankroll sits at $8,758 after last night. That was horrendous, but it's okay because we're gonna bounce back today. It's episode 4 or 5, one of the two. Which episode is it?
4.
True supporter. Episode 4, we are heading to the Wynn. We're heading to the Wynn. Oh my gosh, you can tell I've been here before. We're heading to the Wynn to play some 2-5 right now. Shut your mouth, lock in. Let's go.
Your foot on the gas, make it last, make it rock. Put your foot on the gas, make it last, make it rock. Put your foot on the gas, make it last, make it rock. I'ma be the baddest that you ever done saw.
All right, we hopping in this 2-5 game here at the Wynn for $1,000. Real quick, the very last hand is a hand you do not want to miss. It's a huge hand, and honestly, if you don't watch the entire vlog, just skip to the last hand. That way you don't miss it. Trust me, it's a good hand. Anyways, in the first hand of note, we look down at Ace-5 in the club variety. We're in under the gun. I open at $15. The +1 calls, folds over to Nick. Of course, he's on the same table as us. Literally every single time we played in Vegas, we were on the same table. I can't make it up, but he calls on the button, and we're 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes Jack, 10, Queen, Rainbow with 1 club. So we flop ourselves a gut of the Broadway and a backdoor nut flush draw. So I continue for $25, and they both fold. Wild, wild, wild hand. I know. I'm only including it because 90% of all the hands that occurred this session were exactly like this hand. Kid you not, this isn't Dallas, this is Vegas, folks, but lock in. We got some good hands coming up. In this next hand, we look down at Jack 10 offsuit in the cutoff. There's a limp and a raise to 15 from Nick and the +1. The hijack calls, and so do I, and so does the button, and so does the small blind, and somehow the big blind folds, even though he's getting like 12-1 on the call. And of course, the limper calls, so we're 6 ways to a flop. It comes pretty good. It comes 10, 8, 7, 2 spades. So we flop ourselves top pair with a gutter to the straight. And when action checks all the way to me, I bet off for $40, and only the button calls. So we're heads up to a turn. The turn is a king of clubs, which shouldn't have changed anything unless the button had a king high flush draw or something like that. And now he has top pair. So I decide to keep betting. This time I size up to $120, and he folds. So the action again in Vegas is just absolutely insane. I mean, you really got to be locked in and dialed when you're out here because these guys, they know what they're doing. They're kind of knitting it up. They're making me feel like I'm loose, which y'all know I'm kind of a nit. But the next hand is about to change all of that. And this next one, we look down at the Cowboys in the cutoff, and I'm calling them the Cowboys because from Dallas, and I tried that joke last vlog. Anyways, action folds all the way to me, and I open at $15 and receive 2 callers from the button and ace poker in the small blind. So we're 3 ways to a flop. It comes 5, 8, 10, all hearts. Not my favorite flop, but we do have the king of hearts, so we can always make a flush if we're behind. Unless somehow someone has the ace of hearts and just flopped it, then we're dead. But when ace checks, I'm going to put out a c-bet for $20. The button calls and ace folds because he understands and knows I'm the superior player. So we're heads up to a turn. It comes the ace of spades. Of course, if y'all really thought I was going to get kings and no ace was coming out, you are absolutely insane. Obviously, an ace comes on the turn. I check, expecting this guy to bet so I can just fold, but he checks back, so we should have the best hand. We're off to a river. It comes the 4 of clubs. Pretty safe, and I'd expect him to bet an ace on the turn, so we should have the best hand, so I assemble a bet of $40, targeting all worst 1-pair holdings, and my opponent snap calls. He flips over king 10 offsuit for top pair on the flop. No good, sir. We're scooping a massive $170 pot, which honestly for a Vegas 2-5 game seems like a big pot. Not going to lie. And this next time we look down at Jack Queen offsuit. We're in the +3. There's 1 limp, and I raise to $15. Folds over to Nick in the big blind, and he calls, and so does the limper. So we're 3 ways to a flop. Comes pretty good. Comes Queen, 4, 8, 2 clubs. So we flop ourselves top pair. When action checks to me, I bet out for $20, and they both call. Hoping for a blank on the turn, and that's not really what we get. It's a 10 of diamonds, so some weird 2-pair hands. Well, not really weird 2-pair hands get there. Queen 10 gets there. 10-8 gets there, and obviously Jack 9 does as well. But we do pick up a gutter to go along with our top pair. So when action checks to me, I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if we should be betting here or checking here. I think either is okay, but with Nick in the hand, I don't want to bet and get raised by some trash combo draw or just air, which he probably has. And anyways, I just checked this one back. We're off to a river. It's the 9 of diamonds. So the flush gets there, but we do make our straight. So when Nick decides to lead out for $25, the other player folds, and even though there's a flush out there, I think against Nick, We got to be raising for value here. So I raised to 125 bucks, and Nick goes into the tank for like 2 minutes. Come on, bro. Just donate, please. I haven't got any value this entire session. Just donate once. He doesn't. He folds. So another medium-sized pot, but that's just the way the session has gone, y'all. That's literally how the session has gone. We played for like 2.5 hours. No big pots until the last hand. Here we go. Stop what you're doing, swallow what you're chewing, and lock in, folks. In the last hand of the session, the hand you've all been waiting for, we look down at 2 black jacks. That sounds a little weird. We're in the big blind, though. Action starts with a raise from the +3 to 20 bucks. The low jack calls, and now Nick 3-bets to $100 in the cutoff. Folds to me, and I think we got ourselves a pretty easy 4-bet. Nick's probably 3-betting, but straight trash from the cutoff, so we should be way ahead. So I 4-bet to 300 bucks. The other players both call, and so does Nick. And obviously, I'm kidding again. Those other players fold. Nick calls. Back to reality. We're heads up to a flop. Flop comes 9, 8, 5, 2 spades. A bit of a dicey board, to be honest. Nick can have all the 2 pairs, all the sets on this board, but he probably has trash. So I bet for 200 bucks, and he snap jams for $900, which makes 0 sense. So I snap call, and he shows pocket aces. Obviously, I'm kidding again. His donkey hasn't shown yet, so we're off to a turn in a river. The turn comes the 5 of hearts. We love to see that. The river's a 10 of spades. Hate to see that one. And now Nick shows ace queen offsuit. What a guy. What a friend. What a donation. Thanks a lot, Nick. This is exactly why we're friends. And that is how you play pocket jacks. If you go back 2 vlogs ago and you watch the last hand, that's how you don't play pocket jacks. But this is how you play pocket jacks. This is how you end a session. And that's all the interesting hands I have for you guys in this one. We didn't play a ton of them, but that last one made the session. As you guys can see, we have a beautiful $2,400 stack. Time to cash out. Nick. Thank you, Nick. Post-session update. In 4,000, out for 2410. Nick, what's the update? In for what? In for a lot, out for nothing. Ace ran it up. For like 500. You're a good player. Hey, you're a good player, brother.